The daily stand-up, or some call it the daily scrum, is one of the better known scrum ceremonies and possibly one that causes people a wee bit of anxiety. It is held each day during the sprint, and its intention is to reconnect the team with their team members and with the objectives of the scrum. It should be hopefully less than 15 minutes. In fact, I've been in meetings that are typically less than 10 and even less than 7 minutes. Although I've also seen badly run meetings that go on for hours of pain. The meeting is really, as simple as it sounds, it's really to get the team reconnected to reality. By bringing the team back together and asking them to just say what they're working on, it is helping bring people back to reality and also to clearly understand, yes, these are what the product owner's objectives are. Are we focused on them? You know, for a team member to sit in their cube without connection to the other members of the team for several days, it's amazing how easy it is for them to drift off onto their own view of what's important and what's valuable and what should be delivered. So this really helps prevent people from going down the rabbit hole or working towards what they perceive is important, and therefore helps us maintain the commitment that we've made to the product owner. This is also the opportunity to call out impediments, to realize that we are putting or that our reaching our commitment is at risk, and taking the opportunity to say, well, what can we do about it? So in other words, the daily stand-up becomes a little bit of a micro-planning session, if you like. Not micromanagement, it's a micro-planning. Okay, let's get some feedback from what we've done over the last 24 hours. Where are we? What do we have to do to course correct? There are a couple of different styles of running the daily stand-up. The most popular is the so-called 3 questions, where we kind of do a round robin of each of the team members and ask, what did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And do you have any impediments? Are you blocked? And this is actually pretty good. This is going around and each team member gets an opportunity to talk. Another approach that you might take is to do the so-called cards talk or walk the wall. And what you do is you start from a card on the scrum board and point to it, and a person takes that and speaks to it, explains what was done on that card, is it blocked, and how long more will it take to finish that card. I personally beginning to really adopt and like this style because I find it helps keep people focused on the work and also really helps people take group ownership of the work rather than going around individually. So this is, I think I like this style because it helps reinforce that we are a team. Again, it's a matter of personal preference. One of the reasons that people have a bit of anxiety sometimes around this meeting is that they do tend to, once badly run meetings, tend to go on for hours. And there are some jokes about people saying, yeah, this is awesome. This is the best stand-up we had so far. It only took 45 minutes. Really, the stand-up is a very quick meeting. You're going around, people are reconnecting, saying where they are. Maybe somebody's saying, okay, I've got a problem. What you don't do is solve the problem in that meeting. If it's a local problem that a person's having and they get into a dialogue with somebody else, do you really need the whole team standing there with them listening to this conversation? Maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not. But what most people do, or most Scrum Masters or facilitators do to keep the stand-up running well, is they have the so-called after meets or 16th minute issues. So go through your agenda, do the 3 questions or walk the wall and put the issues aside, put them on a parking lot. And then you have the 16th minute or after meets, and the people who need to be there can remain and everyone else can go back to work. That way the people who are remaining, the after meet or the 16th minute issues are important to them and they're focused and they're relevant. They're not sitting there looking at their watch saying, oh God, when are these guys going to stop talking? When can I get out of here and get back to work? So this is basically something that you should consider in running the stand-up. It's meant to be short. It is not a problem-solving session. So why do we have this meeting? I mean, sometimes it causes a lot of anxiety because sometimes it's really hard to schedule, especially in organizations where you're working flexible hours, or you've got people distributed across the continent or even across the world. Finding a time when everyone can connect with one another is rather difficult. I mean, I've been working on teams where I've had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for the daily stand-up. And I know some poor colleagues in Bangalore, they've had to get on the phone at 11:30 at night so that they could participate in the stand-up. So there's a challenge and anxiety, but I think it's worth it because the reason we want to have this is a project becomes blocked very, very quickly, and we slip one day at a time. That's how projects slip. They slip one day at a time. And there's myriads of petty details and silly things that can cause our product to be blocked. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're blocked. We think we're the best, we think we're doing fine. And until we have that reality actually pushed in our face, we don't see that we're blocked. And so this sometimes is called going dark. And a really great book that was written a number of years ago by Jim McCarthy called The Dynamics of Software Development. He said, don't go dark. And he had a couple of rules there. He said, this book was a series of rules about software development. Two that really stuck out were don't go dark and beware of the guy in the back room. What this was an admonishment that unless the team regularly connects with one another, it is so easy for a person to get tunnel vision, to get focused on their work, that they basically either go down a rat hole or they get blocked and they don't realize it, where help would be simply available to them. So there's a number of situations you can probably think of where we're relying on them to get a job done. They say, yep, I can get it done. And we don't see them for 3-4 days. We come up to them saying, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. 3-4 days go by. How are you doing? I'm doing great. 3-4 more days go by. How are you doing? Oh, it's a disaster. And that's going dark. That's the guy in the back room. That's basically not being connected to reality. So one of the Scrum values, of course, is openness. And as unbelievable it may seem, as programmers, sometimes we don't really appreciate openness, right? We don't want people looking over our shoulder and saying, I think you have a problem there. So it's difficult sometimes for developers to admit that we do need help. The daily stand-up is basically a ceremony that really helps connect us with reality and helps us realize that, yeah, I need help. We're blocked here. We have a problem. Or we're not making progress as vigorously as we should. So what are we going to do about it such that we can make our commitment to the product owner, or at least we can tell them early while there's still time to do something about it.